So it's 7 o'clock.
It is. Good evening. It is November 15th, 2022. It is 7 p.m. Welcome to the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education meeting. Here is your board president, Mrs. Caldwell.
Thank you. So what's up with like half the room being full? That just seems so like kind of. Yeah, I think so. Well, we just finished a closed session. Thank you. We just finished a closed session and we received information about our CSEA negotiations, which have completed short of some paperwork. I don't want to misstate anything, but it's very good news for us and marks a pretty big milestone for the school district in general and allows us to sort of get on with the business of education when we take care of some of these things. So anyway, that's terrific news. So congratulations to the team who got us that far. So with that, I'd like to call to order our open session and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Dr. Richter, I understand you're going to introduce for us.
Absolutely. Thank you, President Caldwell. Good evening. It is my pleasure to introduce our two incredible Huntington Middle School students to lead the board in the flag salute tonight, and then share a little bit about what's so amazing at Huntington Middle School. So I'd like to ask Alo Gorham and Isabel Yan to come up to the podium.
Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. You ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Hello, everybody. My name is Isabel Yan. I'm currently in 8th grade, and I have been in Ms. Macedo's visual arts program course for 3 years, which has been my entire middle school life. And I really love this course, and I think it's a very enjoyable course that everyone should definitely experience in their middle school life. One of the things that I enjoy most in this class is all the different fun kinds of projects you get to experiment with, because every single project you get to focus on many different elements, like the different subjects, the different styles, the different movements, and you also get to learn about many different artists and how they impacted our world. And every project, Ms. Macedo allows you to really experiment with your creativity and lets you put in your own like touch of style and touch of signature into it, which is always really fun. And I think this course can always be used as a creative outlet, because math and science and English can always be really taxing, and art is just really fun in general. So I think it's a nice break from all of the academic courses. And a benefit that you can learn from this course is that since the courses are 7th and 8th grade mixed, you can always make new friends, and making new friends means that you can learn new things from other people. And I have definitely taken a lot of inspiration, and I've learned a lot of new things by making new friends in these courses. And I think it's just this course is just, you get to work and you get to play a lot. And I think the environment here is always very relaxing, and it's always very welcoming. And Ms. Macedo, she's a very nice teacher in general, and I think you get to easily communicate with her. So it makes the entire course a lot more fun, and you get to relax and enjoy a lot more. Thank you.
Just to add on to Isabel's statement, I've also found the art program to be enticing and welcoming. While I didn't take art every year, I decided to switch from the Vivace choir to Mrs. Macedo's 3D painting and drawing art classes, and I have thoroughly enjoyed my experience. I first wanted to join art in 7th grade because of all the great things my friends have told me. I've always been interested in art and typically used it to ease my stress and anxiety, so I was really excited to participate in Ms. Macedo's class. The class is incredibly inviting. Mrs. Macedo has been very helpful when it came to questions, but because she was already doing such a great job with instruction, there were few. The art itself is just the right amount of exciting and calming. Each project is unlike the last and allows immense creativity, so students aren't limited to one outcome and experience. Finishing a project is definitely bittersweet because we love to shape paper, clay, paint, and so many other materials into something unique and satisfying. Furthermore, art programs are very important to schools because of all the stress put onto classes such as mathematics, English, and science. It's important to have a creative outlet. The work doesn't stop, but having a place to express yourself and your artistic abilities is especially important to the development of kids like us. The tools you use in art can also positively affect your development in other subjects. For example, art can get you to think outside of the box, which most English teachers would likely appreciate. Isabel and I are just two of many art students here at Huntington, but I'm confident that any of other students would say the same. Thank you.
Students, if you would remain standing, that would be amazing. We'd like to take a picture with you and our board.
Sorry. It's okay. Safety has. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Right here, 1, 2, and 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Perfect. Great. Oh, wait, I'm not- Thank you so much. You guys did a great job on that. Thank you. You did a great job. Yeah, you did a great job. Okay. Well, thank you. That was terrific. So next I'd like to move to the approval of our agenda for this evening. Do I have a motion to approve? So moved. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Kelly, would you?
Yes.
Yes. Mike?
Aye.
Thank you. Joseph? Jane? Aye. Shelley? Aye. Aye. Okay, so our agenda is approved. And now we need to move to approval of our minutes for the October 25th, 2022 Board of Education meeting. Can I have a motion to approve that? I move to approve the minutes. Thank you, Jane. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Mike. Kelly?
Yes.
Thank you. Mike?
Aye.
Joseph?
Aye.
Jane? Aye. Shelley? Aye. Yes, Jeannie. Okay, the minutes are approved. So now we have an exciting item. Who's doing that? Oh, I think that's you. Me? You may just say, recognize?
Yeah, unless,
Okay.
I mean.
No, that's
I can do it,
awesome.
or you can
I
do it, or-
have lots to say.
Yes, I know you love this.
Okay, so you all don't know me at all. I am new back to the board, but I had kids who've gone through the whole school district and the high school, they've graduated. And one of them was also an athlete. And, so I have a little bit of experience in CIF. And they not as good as yours. Let's just start there. Definitely not as good as yours. But I'm a huge believer in athletics and programs like what you're doing, a huge believer. I think that what you've done is what I like to refer to as a pinnacle achievement. There are very few things that you're going to do in life that are going to top. There are a lot. Get married, have children, finish college. Those are all big, good things. But together as a team to be able to win CIF, it's just something many people never get to experience. We've had dominance in tennis for a long time at our high school. And while I went through to try to see if I could count how many times we'd won, you may know, I couldn't figure it out because it stopped at 2010. And I found a news article that indicated that we won last year too. Is that true? Okay, awesome. That's really great. Double pinnacle achievements for those of you that were on both teams. But I think it just has to be said that winning at the CIF level is not just about being really great at tennis. There were a lot of people you played who are also really great at tennis. But to be able to walk away with a championship in a situation like that, it's about skill for sure. It's about luck. Sometimes there's just a luck of the draw that helps. It's about perseverance. And I think it's about drive. I mean, these are all things that kind of make the win happen. And to me, those are the real benefits of winning. Oh, it's great to have hopefully new t-shirts that say champions or something somewhere. It's great to have that too. But the stuff that I think you carry with you are all of those things you had to do to overcome really good teams. And that says a lot about you and your character. And we're incredibly proud of you. So congratulations.
So I echo the sentiments of President Caldwell. It's really incredible to see you here this evening and to help celebrate your success. And I want to recognize Coach Mel for his tenure with the district and his record of winning. But it's not just about winning. It's about being part of a team, growing together, learning together, and really making the most of every moment that you have participated in this activity. I know it takes a lot of devotion and dedication, and you are to be applauded for that. But I'd also like to hear from Coach Mel, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the podium, Coach. And Coach Mel has been with this district for how many years now, Coach?
I've been here, I think 12 years.
12 years. So that is a long time, and you've had a great winning record. And I think you do an incredible job representing this community and this high school and these hardworking young ladies. And so thank you for your devotion to tennis and your expertise in this area, and for just being such a great coach. So thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
I'll hold it.
Yeah, you might not get it back.
Be in the whatever file
Yeah.
you're taking.
I don't think that's going to fit
Go
in
right
your
ahead.
purse.
Well,
Always here. Good evening, everyone. Members of the board, I've seen Dr. Linda De La Torre for so many years. So she done so many good things here. Now you are already such at a high level, moving up and higher. And so the things I want to say here, Miss Jeannie, you
oh yeah,
mentioned.
you forget that, just whatever.
You mentioned a lot of the things I was gonna say. It's amazing how you just like pretty much said quite a few things that I was gonna talk about.
I've been a big supporter of athletics for a pretty long time.
Thank you. Now thank you for the kind invitation for the girls varsity tennis team to be recognized by the board. We are so honored. Before I introduce each member of the team, I would like to say a few words about our program. Tennis is the only Division I sport, maybe, at San Marino High School.
Woo.
It's such a high level that a lot of just for our school of 800 student body, I just do not know how these girls can do it. It's just, to me, it's just amazing. So I really applaud my girls. San Marino girls varsity tennis ended the 2021 season ranked number 1 in the polls in Division I because they won the CIF Division I championship in November 2021, the program's first ever Division I title. As a follow-up to last year's championship, San Marino maintained the #1 ranking in the polls that was set in the beginning of the year. They ranked as #1, and just to keep that #1 seed, it's not easy. There was a lot of pressure amongst the girls. So that was amazing what they just did too. They went undefeated. The top 8 teams in Division 1 will compete in the CIF Open Division, which is even tougher competition. So what they do is they'll take, say, 24 Division 1 teams, they take the top 8 and they separate them from Division 1. And we have never been in that category before. I've seen 12 years. So they had a big challenge ahead of them.
So that's what happens next?
No,
That's what they just did.
they just did.
Ah, okay.
San Marino defeated athletic powerhouse Mater Dei.
Oh.
11-7 last Friday to win the CIF Division Championships, which is the pinnacle of high school tennis. The team's open division title is indeed historic. For a small public school like San Marino to win back-to-back championship in a field of athletic powerhouses is amazing. I don't think that's going to happen again. I'm so proud of the commitment and sacrifices made by every girl on varsity tennis. Tennis is like a chess match, which you must fight to impose your strengths in order to expose your opponent's weaknesses. It is a highly specialized sport that takes many hours of private training. It takes speed, accuracy, tenacity, heart, and a little bit of luck. And the San Marino girls had it all this season. The girls, what I love about my girls, compared to a lot of the schools with all their talk, is my girls let the tennis do the talking. It is not just the girls who prove their commitment to the sport, it is also the parents as well. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all the parents for their support of our team all season long. So thank you, parents. I'm not sure which girls are here today, but I'll mention the names. The first one I'm mentioning is Mia Lynn. Mia Lynn, you can go on. Second is
Coach Mel, Coach Mel,
Yes.
when you call their names, can we get them to stand right up here? Because we're going to take a photograph of the entire team.
Sure,
Yourself, the president of the board and
okay.
So-
Tell us who are seniors.
The seniors,
Well, just when you announce. them,
Yeah.
it's fine.
okay, not a senior.
Well, I'm
Not yet.
seeing whether you
Yeah,
can
it's a
repeat.
sophomore.
That's what I'm working on.
Sophomore. Isabel King. A senior, Isabel is a senior. Very cool. Senior. Mei Wang. Olivia Center. Not here, they're playing tournaments. Julian Ewan. Olivia Sue. Freshman. Kate Chang. Freshman. Karina Yang. Freshman. No, sophomore. Celine Young. Junior, I think. Katie Hong. freshman. Selena Wu, senior. And Katie Lu, senior. Thank
Okay,
you.
so, okay, great. Can we get you in the center, Coach Mel?
Is there a captain?
Yes, we have all captains. There's,
One that wants to hold it. I don't think we should. Okay, we're gonna have to squeeze in, so we're within frame, so there's the side leaking. And then we get the, hold on a second, we get the flap in the middle. Maybe both of you will do some. Okay, take off the rest.
Everybody looks centered here. On, you, and three.
Real quick, we're having a celebration for these girls tomorrow after or during our break. So right around 10:30, parents, if you want to come by, we'll get you in real quick. We're going to do a big celebration. We'll have some of you bringing some fun things for the girls. We really want to celebrate this. So we're bringing the entire student body together to do just that. Okay. Make sure you're there. You're going to be embarrassed. It's okay.
Congratulations, we're incredibly proud of all of you. And a big thanks to our parents for supporting your daughters in this wonderful endeavor and supporting Coach Mel. Thank you.
Yay.
And we'd love to have you stay, but my guess is you don't want to. So do as you wish. How's that? You could be a board member one day if you want. Okay.
Great job. Recognizing.
So moving on to public comment. We'll just give them a second to. Well, there's our crowd. So the Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323B to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matters pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have three options to submit public comments. First, through an online form, then additionally to a request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. And third, a request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. If you wish to submit through an online form, these forms are available for open or closed session items on November 15th from 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Comments received during this time will not be read during the meeting, but will be provided to the Board of Education. We received no comments today through that process. A request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. During public comment, the meeting will pause for 1 minute to take requests to speak. The raise hand function is used to take requests during the public comment period. For online attendees, press the raised hand icon to add yourself to the queue. For phone attendees, dial *9. The speaking order will be determined based on the order of requests received. Individual speakers will be unmuted and called to speak. If you request to speak during the meeting in person via a public comment card, you need to complete the public comment card and submit the completed card to the designated drop box with the assistant superintendent. Opportunities for public comment are offered prior to closed session, at the start of regular open session for matters not on the agenda, and for matters on the agenda. The Board of Education reserves the right to add a public comment period prior to any individual item on the agenda. 5 minutes may be allotted to each speaker and a maximum of 20 minutes to each subject matter. However, in the event there are more than 4 speakers on the same subject matter, the board president retains the discretion to adjust and limit the time allocated to each speaker to ensure that all wishing to speak will be heard within the 20-minute allotment. Communications from the audience regarding matters not on the agenda or items in the consent or information sections, please provide your comments now. For items in the action section of the agenda, please provide your comments prior to the board beginning discussion on those items. So shall we do our minute?
Absolutely. President Caldwell, we're pausing for 1 minute. If you'd like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card.
Still no Jeopardy music, huh?
Yes. Well, 30 seconds remain. If you'd like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. President Caldwell, we have no requests via Zoom.
Okay, terrific. So let's move on then to our consent section. We had no other comments, right? You've got nothing else. So let's move on to our consent section. Do I have a motion to approve?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve for consent section from the A to H.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Shelley. Any discussion?
I do have one question, and I apologize for not giving you a heads up beforehand. On the PO report number 8, PO number ending in 705, there's a US bank card for 33,000. I assume there's a reason for that.
Yes,
Yeah, I can look into.
Dr. Lynn can speak to that.
33,000.
That was, remember when the cards were maxed out because we had the issue with purchasing?
Yeah, so initially, at the start of the year, we had to put a lot of purchases through for the sites, but I can look into the details about that.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So we have a first, we have a second.
I have one more.
Okay. Are you
Regarding
holding these out or like?
Well, no, I'm just, regarding the removal of surplus goods, there is one of those items on our consent agenda. So I would just have a question that's not necessarily, but so there, I noticed on Carver grounds, because of the pandemic, we had to social distance and we used a lot more of our equipment outside. And I've noticed we still have a lot of those bins and we have equipment that was used outside that's not in the best condition. But I don't think any of that is on this list. So when we're thinking about the school site and surplus goods, are we taking into account furniture and sort of removing all of those items?
You're talking about the items that are at the schools that we used during the pandemic, right? Are you talking
Some
about
of
like
that,
the?
some of it that little
screening
plexiglass, but also
items?
like, for example, our field still has a big bin on it at
Mhm,
Carver.
Mhm.
And so I'm just wondering what's in there. And are we going to be at some point sort of dealing with those? And then, because I see that as surplus goods at this point, we're not using them. So at some point, we would need to address that. And I assume that's just a maintenance operations issue.
That is correct. And I think we've been somewhat reluctant just to do away with them because we heard there was going to be this other surge and, so I don't think that that's going to materialize. But we will certainly keep the board apprised of our future plans to surplus those items. I know that there's also a storage area at Carver where our earthquake supplies are stored. And I'm assuming that you're not talking about that, but talking about
No, I'm talking about the one on the grass field.
Right, the one
Yeah.
that was on the grass was purchased during
Mhm.
COVID when
Yep.
we needed to clear out furniture
right.
to make a space for social distancing.
Yes.
And there's some furniture in there. The intention, Mrs. Caldwell was here too, Stuart Caldwell, Principal Caldwell. The intention is to convert that into a PE bin. So then PE equipment is not in the basement where we'll have PE staff going down to the basement, getting PE equipment and, back and forth. So it makes it easier to use that bin for that purpose. But certainly any inventory items must be cataloged. And this way we can make dispose of them appropriately. It could be through auctioning. It could be just discarding them upon board approval.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we have a first and a second. Kelly, would you like to?
Yes.
Yes, okay, Mike,
Aye.
Joseph,
Aye.
Jane,
Aye.
Shelley,
Aye.
aye. Okay, our consent section passes. So let's move on to our communications section. We'll start with communications from the Board of Education. Shelley, can we start with you?
No, can you go the other way? Sorry, I
Okay,
was just
we'll
in the middle
start-
of something.
Mike, can we start with you? Sure. Okay, go.
Not a problem. I was thinking about tonight's communication quite a bit. Both with Thanksgiving coming up and also this being what I believe is my last board communication. There's a lot of really good people in this community and a lot of really good people in this district and at all levels. And so I wanted to say thank you to each and every person in the district for making the environment, the learning opportunities, and the overall experience that our children have, and the contributions that each of you make. So specifically, Dr. Choi is, when we're talking about things like Golden Bells and what we've done with COVID, it's unbelievable. And you truly have done a great job. And you've made it safe for my children, for lots of children in this district, and for all of our teachers and our staff. And you've done great work, and I wanted to say thank you for that. Michael Lynn, you and I have known each other since before we were in San Marino, when we were both in another district. And it was a great surprise when I saw you at the Valentine Carnival for the first time and realized that you were going to be part of the district that my family was going to be a part of. You've done a great job with everything, stepping up and taking on the CBO position and what you have done with it, looking through every single line of so many documents and so many projects. You're doing a very great job. And so I wanted to thank you. Dr. Richter, I have total confidence in you and your abilities. Your ability to take on projects, be professional, and produce great results, both in our instruction and in what our children are performing at, particularly with the challenges of COVID, has been remarkable. And so thank you and everybody that's helping each of you with that. Dr. De La Torre, I will say that you have assembled a top-notch team.
Thank you.
And that is a sign of a very good leader. And so you deserve to be thanked for that. You do a great job. There's no question that you care about this district. You care about the students and the families and the community. And so thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
And to each of the board members, whether we're relatively new or we're coming back from times ago or continuing on for very long times. Having been on the board, I've learned the dedication and the time and the effort and the perspective that is needed to really govern a district and produce a quality education for students. And I want to thank each of the board members for what you have done. No matter how long you've been on the board, you've all been a valuable part of this process, and thank you. And it also goes for each of the principals, each of the teachers, each of the staff. You all do a great job. And so thank you very much. And so with that, happy Thanksgiving to each of you, and please continue as you go forward to think of every student. Think of how every project, every program, every thought of moving the district forward encompasses the benefit and finds the potential and achieves the potential of every student, no matter where they are. Every student deserves that, and I have confidence that you all will do that. And so with that, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think you're starting our Thanksgivings off really well.
I'll say the same thing at my family Thanksgiving.
Okay. Well, they may not be as
Yeah,
tall.
right.
Okay, Joseph, would you like to go next?
Oh, yes. First of all, Michael, I appreciate during this moment you make this speech honor for the school district, the administrator and the principal. As you know, we've been working for so many years, and finally we are able to get you here. So I think the life is short, but always a good experience for everyone to learn, no matter longer or shorter. I think the life journey always is a learning. So thank you. Secondly, I want to report my the last 2 weeks report. Actually, last couple of days to me is sad for me because I work in other organization, and one of my fellow board member, the 2 days ago passed away, and she also dedicated another organization. But when we are reach to the 60 to 70, I think everyone need to pay attention about their health. So I suggest everyone doing the routine checkup. This board member, when I fly to the Hawaii prepare for my son's wedding, and then they give me a call. They said that they need a surgeon in the city of Hope. So then with some connection, so we make a arrangement. So finally get a surgery, but just the 2 months, pass away. So I think first of all, I like to everyone, pay attention your own health. Yeah. Okay. October 28th, the city of San Marino, they host the Halloween trunk and the trick at the Lacey Park. I think this is a very good event. I suggest, maybe the next year school district may prepare, maybe have a booth, to attract the young parent, because a lot of young kids there. So it's the opportunity for the school district to promote, for the enrollment. And also, I appreciate Dr. Choi continue to provide the opportunity for the school community, parent and the student for the vaccination clinic. So we have one at October 28th. I think that's the good, continue to pay attention about the public health issue within the entire school district. And then the October 29th, I have a half day, the board retreat at the Huntington Library. I think this is the one, we try to make a long-term strategy planning and make sure, how we can serve for the community. And then the October 30, Chinese Cup ceremony, once again, host for the Mid-Autumn Festival party. I think everyone enjoy there. And then the November 2nd, I was invited by Chinese Cup, finally, I think the city of San Marino, they're trying to have a Lunar New Year event for entire the city. So they invite the Chinese Cup director and have some brainstorming and see how they can come out together, come out the first Lunar New Year event at the Daisy Park. November 3rd, I enjoy the web program, as she liked it. I think at the web theater, I think this is a good to know our high school student performance at the web park. And then November 10, as a San Marino Rotary Club member, so we have a Paul Harris Fellow Recognition Lunch. So this year we honor for Mr. John Quinn as a honoree, the 2022nd. The John been a long-term volunteer, and he also the executive director for the OMIA Foundation. And in the meantime, we as a tradition, we always have a keynote speaker. So this year we invite our alumni of high school, Larissa Phillips. Larissa actually just like our girl tennis. Larissa, I think, was the captain. I think 20, I forget which year. So right now, she's serving as a Rotary International Global Grand Scholar. So the San Marino Rotary give her the whole scholarship, and then she traveled to everywhere, trying to study for the economic with the different country, study about the inclusion on the economic. And then the same day, I also attend the Veteran Day Assembly at Valentine. Thank you for the principal. I'm also sorry I cannot also go to the cover. Probably next year I will do the first trip. And then the yesterday we have a safety and awareness meeting. So I think this is a very important meeting. We just want the community people to know the San Marino Unified School District always pay attention for safety and awareness as a priority. So sometimes maybe something happen, but the school parent may not know, but they have some comment. It's okay, but just want to let the community people know we have a group of people from the district superintendent, cabinet, and administrator, and each school site principal, and the PTA leader. So everyone get together with the city fire department and the police department. They work together to figure out what we need to pay attention about the safety issue. So I think this is very important. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Jane, would you like to go next?
Sure. So I'm going to rewind it back a little bit to, I guess, right before Halloween. We had some really exciting football games with HMS winning, as well as our high school. And that was probably one of the most exciting games at the high school I've seen. It was just a total nail biter. We got the Crowley Cup back against South Pass. I think the HMS game might have, we did very well. And after that, let's see, the Chinese Club Mid-Autumn Festival, I also attended. It was great performances from many of our high school band and dance, K-pop group and others in the community. So that was great to see them supporting Chinese Club. The PTA Council meeting, I also attended that, and also attended the play As She Likes It at Web Theater. It's great perspective from just a different take on the work. So I like how we're just doing different types of work at the high school in terms of our plays. Came here, more art reflection showcase last week. And then also attended the San Marino High School Showcase. And thankfully, the rain was held at bay for that evening. And it was a wonderful night to see all of our activities highlighted and to see the students taking ownership of their own school. I think that's always the best part about the showcase because they get to show off what they love and we get to show them off to everyone else. Best part of our district are our students. Let's see, some notes. I've been noticing a lot of illness in the community. A lot of people are getting sick. I think there is a lot of catching up from the last couple of years with respiratory viruses. And so I'm thinking maybe we need to just make sure we're really doing some deep cleanings, encouraging masking where possible. And some concern I'm hearing from the parents is missing work and makeup policies around that work, because they're not missing just a couple of days. They're missing 10 days. And then they're coming back to school and then they're getting hit again and they're missing more days. And I don't know that the state or anyone else really saw that coming. I think we all thought we were going to see this big surge in illness last year that we didn't really see, maybe because people were still masking in California, but I'm definitely seeing it now. And a lot of families are really stressed out. They're stressed out about having to get doctor's notes when they can't get in to see their pediatricians. They're stressed out about the work that they're missing. So I think that's something we just need to be thinking about and making sure that the kids are not feeling hopeless, because if they're doing really well in the class and then they're not going to class for a couple of weeks, especially given that we're heading to the end of the semester, are they going to have that time to catch up? Or are they going to have that time for the either remediation or the makeup? And I think that's really stressing a lot of families out. So I think we need to really make sure that we're finding ways to meet their learning needs and be there for the parents to help alleviate some of that stress. Congratulations on our election. I was very excited to see Measure 28 pass, which means more funding for the music and arts education. So I'm excited to see what we'll be able to do with those funds, knowing it's above what we normally get as opposed to carving out more that we are going to lose. So I really appreciate that funding coming in. And I wanted to say thank you to all of the candidates who ran. It's not an easy thing to put yourself out there and run for office. And so a huge thank you to everybody who even threw their name in the ring, because to put your name out there and see what happens is a big risk. And I think that, I think just doing that should be applauded. So, and on that note, congratulations to Shelley and Joseph for coming back. I thank you for coming back. I'll be honest, the idea of sitting here with 4 brand new board members scared me just a little bit. So I am very appreciative and grateful to Shelley for her experience and her expertise that she brings, and to Joseph for his experience and wisdom and his network, many people deep network that he is always able to tap into on our behalf. And I want to say congratulations to the candidates who at this moment look to be the winners, Joanna Lamb and Francesca, who is in our audience today. It's a fun, wild ride. So looking forward to being on that with you all. So thank you for joining us soon. And I wanted to also say thank you to Mike. Mike, you care so much. That is so incredibly evident. And you always want to put the students and the people first. And that is always where you're coming from. And I want to honor that and thank you for always putting that forward in front of everyone all the time. And to Jeannie, I want to thank you for always making me look at everything from a different perspective. I think it's the beauty of the diverse group of people that sit up here that make us stronger. And having Jeannie just even for 6 months has been a gift to me because she always makes me rethink how I'm looking at something. And I enjoy the sparring that we engage in.
As do I.
So I've learned a lot from just sitting next to you. So thank you very much for the service that you've given to our board, both of you. It is much, much, much appreciated. It would be cliche to say that the community doesn't know what the board does. And yet it is true. And it's not about the time and it's not about the work even. Sometimes it's just about caring so much that it's painful. And so thank you for taking on that little bit of pain with us.
Thank you. Shelley.
All right, I think I'm ready now. So in October, thank you, Dr. Choi, Cabinet, Dr. Linda Delatorre for your foresight in helping us prepare for the holiday season and all the traveling. So the boosters came in just at the right time. The tests going home to help alleviate any anxiety about the return and the safety of our campuses. On the 28th, I also joined the board at the football game and really enjoyed senior night and seeing the joyful celebration and the winning of our cup from South Pasadena. So never a doubt. Trunk or treat at Lacey Park, very well attended and very well received. And then there was a movie night afterwards. Wow. So you hop up the kids on candy and then you say, just sit here and watch the movie. And I was just like, who thought of that? What an idea. So Chinese Club, thank you, thank you, thank you. On behalf of the board for what you do. They raise the necessary funds and they also make us all have fun, and we had great Chinese food. As she likes it, the presentation was very well done by the students. An interesting take on from various perspectives. I liked the fact that we would look at from the spouse's perspective on how the Trojan War unveiled itself. And I like the fact that all of our students had such fun doing the performance. So welcome back, and I'm glad they were able to do their performance. The next thing I wanted to share was I was invited to a trip. It's through the city of San Marino and Glendale City Council invited us, and we went on a tour. And so I now know more than you'll ever want to know about water, how it gets here, how we pay for it, what the rate, how we disinfect our water, which ones are for drinking, which ones are for gardening or for farming. And I learned so much, had such a great time. If any of you guys get invited to it, you should go. It is so educational and really bonded closely with our Glendale group. Some of them are still emailing me and texting me now because we're talking about things and what they're working on with their water needs. They asked us to think about it as we are looking at facilities and our planning, how we're going to address that issue regarding water and energy and utilizing our resources much more effectively. So thank you, John Morris, for inviting me, and maybe we'll get a chance to have him come give us a quick talk. Re-election, congratulations, Mr. Chang. Congratulations, Francesca and Joanna, myself. And as Jane said, while we were able to have a term in this election, we also want to thank all those candidates who came out, and for all of our constituents who voted. It is very important for our democracy to vote and to come out voting. When the rain came down that Monday, I thought, oh, this is not good. You know, is everybody going to go out and vote? Because I was hopeful, and you guys did. You showed up, and you were counted. Ed Talk on November 9th, I attended the State of Education Ed Talk. It was put on by the Pasadena Education Foundation. Apparently I donated to them and they said, come. And so I went, and very informative on what the State of Education is doing, because we had a very good speaker from USC. We had various, everything from community schools to counselors to teachers and student panels. And it was really, really informative, because I wanted to see what some of the innovations are during this period. And thank you, Dr. Choi, for putting us on the map regarding the innovation and the innovation during this time of the pandemic. And last but not least, Mr. Chang and I attended the Safety and Wellness Committee, and I want to thank PTA, Foundation, the parents, and all of the principals are here. They represented their school and rolled up their sleeves, and they continue to look at those things that we need to do to continue safety. Thank you.
Gosh, thank you all. I echo many of your comments, so I'm not really going to repeat all of them, but I did want to congratulate our newly elected and newly re-elected board members. As Jane said, it is a big commitment to make that decision. For those of you that are newly elected, you have no idea, but there's more to learn, and it's a tremendous gift to the community and to our kids. We, as Board of Education, we don't just sit here and make decisions on a day-to-day basis. Our job is to be caretakers and visionaries for where education is going to go. And so it takes a lot to do that. And that's our job. That's what we have to do. And we have to do it with 4 people we may or may not agree with. Which is the real challenge, because most of us do independently whatever it is we do. And the real goal is to figure out how 5 people can work together to make the best decisions for our district. So I welcome the new ones. I congratulate the experienced winners. How's that? And I wish you all the best. The other thing I really wanted to mention is I too went to see As She Likes It. And it was a very good performance. But I think for me, aside from the actresses being so good at it, what I was so impressed with is that it's a feminist production. This is a production about Shakespeare's male characters performed by women, which I'm a pretty big feminist. Let's just start there.
I knew you were going to get there.
And so it was a terrible time for me. I was leaving to go on vacation the next day, but I so support that the high school did that. I hope you heard the beginning part of that. Just the fact that you had a feminist production, a very, very much defined feminist production as a play, and that, you know, the many young women who participated in that, and young man, there was one young man in the performance too. I think it says a lot about our high school. It says a lot about the students, says a lot about who we want to be. And, you know, so not only was the performance extraordinary, the fact that we actually had it was more extraordinary. So thank you. And then just one little quick question. Do we require doctor's notes for kids who are sick? Is that some new thing?
Well,
Because you never got one from me, I'll tell you that.
right. Post-pandemic, we are, if they're absent for a certain number of days, we're asking, right, for a doctor's note to 3 days. So that we don't infect all the other children if they're still contagious. And so that is a post-pandemic thing.
Is that a San Marino rule?
I think that's
State
across the
rule?
board. Yeah. Yeah.
State rule,
Mhm.
so, okay.
But districts can allow parents to excuse.
Mhm.
It's good practice, so after multiple days, especially given the.
And we've always done that with our employees, by the way. Yeah, so 3
Okay.
days or more, employees have to provide a note.
I hear you. And we don't need to get into
Yeah,
it
yeah.
now. I just was
Mhm.
made myself a note and I'm like,
Yeah.
well,
Trying to keep all children safe
yeah,
and healthy.
I hear you. Okay, would you like to go now? No,
No,
it's
the-
you, it's Kelly, it's you. I get so confused.
So at San Marino High School, as you already heard, there's a play held by the drama department called As She Likes It. It was the modern reenactment of women in Shakespeare. And I also attended, and it was also really fun seeing a lot of my friends act in the play. But it was also more astonishing is that I think they worked with like a production company, which is really cool that high schoolers have that type of experience at such a young age. And I think that's amazing of them to get to work with people that's like professionals in the field. And then next on November 9th, we had showcase night and it displayed all our 4A's academic, athletics, activities, and arts. So we had a lot of performances in the quad, and then all the art, performing arts was in the quad, and then visual arts was in the library. All the academics are in one area, and all the activities like the clubs went, and all the spring, fall, and winter sports was also there. So basically, the whole school was there, and it was nice seeing a lot of people supporting each other and just like running around, getting the gifts from our San Marino Foundation from the wheel. It was really fun seeing everybody there. And one last thing is I want to mention that tomorrow, November 16th and 17th at 6:30, the dance department will have their first 2022 fall dance show on the Edge, and it will be in the Nair Auditorium. So I'll be attending on the 17th. I just want to say that because they've been preparing a lot, and a lot of like the snippets they've been giving us is for this show, and I know they spent a lot of time with it. And I'm pretty sure they also have like performance with 8th graders too. So that's nice to see. At HMS, we have our 7th graders going to outdoor education at Catalina, BOE Catalina on October 31st to November 4th. And I saw from the pictures on the Instagram that the 7th graders went kayaking, they went hiking, and I saw them like participate in all sorts of fun games together in their cabin. And it was really nice seeing that. Coming up, we're gonna have our Good Citizenship Breakfast, and the theme of that will be trustworthiness. So you're probably gonna see that in the newspaper sometime soon. And they have opened up the tryouts for travel and intramural sports at HMS. And the sports that they have opened up is girls and boys basketballs and girls and boys soccer. And you'll probably see the teams form pretty soon. At Carver and at Valentine, they both schools had a Halloween parade. And kids were able to show off their Halloween costume on blacktop. So there's like a route they'd follow, and parents would come and like take pictures too. So that was really nice. Also at both schools, they had a Veterans Day assembly, and it was to honor active members and veterans. And it's important for students to see the service members who have served for their countries to understand their like sacrifice and dedication at such a young age. So that was nice knowing. On top of that, they both had their book fair. Both elementary schools had their book fairs. They're able to sell books during the school days. And Carver's theme was hike over to camp
book fair and get lost in books, and Valentine's theme was discover new treasures. And Valentine was working with the San Marino Toys and Bookshop. And at Carver, they had fourth graders had an outdoor learning experience, while second graders got to experience the amazing animals. At Carver, their author Melis and illustrator Snyder also came to Carver to read two of their books on October 28th. And at Carver, there was a tetherball competition for fourth graders. So they had to compete with Principal Caldwell and Mr. Angel, and the fourth graders won. And that's all.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Now you.
Okay. Thank you so much. I have just a few things that I wanted to mention this evening. The first of which is just an echo of what everyone else has already said in terms of the recent election results. I would like to congratulate those who were elected. And Shelley, I will start with you. Congratulations to you. I am so happy that you're going to continue on. You, as a public school administrator, have experience that is very valuable to your role here in San Marino. And Mr. C. Joseph Chang, you are the longest serving board member in the history of San Marino Unified School District. This is your 21st year, and you will be going on your 22nd year of service, which is remarkable, given that being a board member is a very big responsibility, as every board member up here knows. And you do it with a smile, with dignity and grace, all of you, all 5 of you. And we really, really do appreciate you. I would also like to congratulate Francesca Gill, who really hasn't missed a board meeting since she threw her name in the hat. You know, it's really been incredible. So I can tell already she's going to be very dedicated to this cause. So congratulations to you. Also, we have Joanna Lamb, who I believe will be joining the board very soon, and congratulations to her. She's a Carver mom and somebody who I believe will be a very good board member as well. I also want to thank those 2 members of our community that threw their hat in the ring, Mackenzie Brown and Jim Barger. I'm very grateful to them for their service in terms of vying for these positions, and hope that they will continue to be engaged in the school district's work in some meaningful way going forward. Want to mention that I did talk with the Registrar Recorder's office, and the election results will be certified and made official on December 5th. And so the votes, the absentee votes, are still being counted, believe it or not, trickling in. But in talking with the Registrar Recorder's office, they said mathematically, it looks as though the results are going to be what they appear to be at this time. So with that, we are planning a new board member orientation on December 6th. So we look forward to having Mrs. Lamb and Mrs. Gill participate in an orientation where our executive team will be talking with them about all of the nuts and bolts that they need to know to be successful board members. In addition to that, I look forward to the California School Boards Association conference coming up December 1st through the 3rd. And I do believe that we have all 5 board members who will be participating in that conference. On December 1st, we're going to be receiving, that's December 2nd, the Golden Bell, right?
That's on Thursday.
Which is December 2nd. So December 1st is the Golden Quill Award, which Mitch Lehman will be receiving. And so he has been invited, and I did talk with Charlie Pullman, who may or may not be able to make it, but I think it would be important for at least our board to be there to see him receive that in person. And then on December 2nd, super excited about receiving the Golden Bell Award for our school district.
December 1st is Thursday.
Oh, so is it the other way? Do I have it backwards? Thank you. Okay, so we'll get it straight. She keeps me organized, and so she will tell me where to go and when to go.
Will she tell us?
Yes,
Because it needs
she has
to
a
get on
chart.
our calendar.
Yes.
We're going to be there.
Yes, and she's sending it to the board. There's a spreadsheet that has gone out, I believe. So sorry about that, but yeah. So we will be receiving the Golden Bell Award on Thursday. And that is for innovation in how we managed COVID-19 compliance. And so again, kudos to Dr. Choi and the COVID compliance committee in our community for doing the great work that they did to position us to win that award.
And Mr. Chang for all of his
Yes,
leadership.
of course. Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. His connections and his leadership, that was pretty amazing and incredible. So it'll be a wonderful opportunity for us to celebrate and for our new board members to become acclimated to all the wonderful responsibilities that they will have as new board members. In addition to that, we plan to recognize both Mr. Kalaki and Mrs. Caldwell, President Caldwell, at our next board meeting, December 13th. For their service on our Board of Education. So I have lots of wonderful things to say about both of these distinguished individuals, but I'm going to save it for when I can present you with something. And I do want to, though, acknowledge all of your hard work and your service and your selfless gift of time and expertise and energy. It has just been incredibly amazing working with and for both of you. So thank you so much. And we will honor you on December 13th. So please plan to be here. And if you'd like to invite your family members, we would love to have them as well. We will be swearing in our new board members on December 13th during our open session board meeting. So plan to be here then. Thank you. And Joanna Lamb will get in touch with her and let her know as well.
Well, they sit up here that
Mhm.
day,
Mhm.
so they need to show up.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
Really.
Yeah,
official.
yeah. So since the election results will be certified on December 5th, and then we will have that information in hand by the 6th, it will work out quite nicely because we already have that board meeting scheduled for the 13th. So we invite anyone who would like to come out and participate to be here. We are also working really hard on the development of a medical arts pathway at San Marino High School. And I'd like to thank Principal Kurtenbach and Dr. Lena Richter and our assistant principal, Carlos Kassam Clay, and all of our counselors at San Marino High School for working so hard on that. Additionally, I would like to recognize C. Joseph Chang for his work in helping us put together an internship program, and we're working the details out on that. We're also going to be applying for a Rotary grant to help support the technology that will be going into that classroom. In addition to that, we do have a donor for anatomage tables, which are going to be amazing. And so I just would like to acknowledge all of the hard work that is going into the preparation and development of that program, which we will be advertising during the second semester, probably in the spring. In addition to that, we are working really, really hard. Again, kudos to Dr. Lena Richter, who is spearheading a dual language immersion program to take place at Carver Elementary School next year. And the targeted language is Mandarin. And she is going to be putting together a committee. She put together a committee of stakeholders, teachers at
First meeting will be when we return from Thanksgiving break on November
Perfect.
30th. And we
Mhm.
already have some school site visits scheduled.
Yes. So that is very exciting news. And again, thank you to C. Joseph Chang for helping with the recruitment of teachers and professional experts in dual language immersion programs and those especially with a expertise in Mandarin. So it has been a very busy time, and we have a lot of wonderful things happening. I also, last but not least, want to just let everyone know that Principal Whitney McAlpine notified me today that one of our third grade classes published a book, which is just so adorable. And it's Mrs. Zamaloa's class. Yes. And it's a Valentine Heart book And it is aligned with our positive behavioral, right? Intervention program. And so would you like to talk about that a little bit? Just tell people what it's about.
Sure. So it aligns with our PBIS system of supports for students, and at Valentine, we say it's our Valentine heart, and the heart stands for different traits and expectations that we have for our students. And so Mrs. Aminoa gave students a different trait, and they were able to write a page in the book about what that trait means to them and how do we show those traits at school. And then they illustrated a picture to go along with it. And each student has a page in the book. It's going to be in our library so other students can check out the book and look at it. And it was just so incredibly done and amazing. And students are very proud of themselves for their work in the book.
And I think that's just wonderful, and congratulations to the teacher, to the class, to the students, and to you. And then we can purchase that book online, correct? Yes. So I'll send something to the board, more information about the book. If you'd like to pick up a copy, you can order it online. It really is very cute and special. So last but not least, I know I said this already once, but I've promised to wrap things up. I just want to say thank you to my team. I have the best team of administrators at the district office and school site leaders. If you notice, they're all here, and they're here for almost every single meeting. And in all the years that I have been with this school district, I don't think we've had that. And just the professional work ethic, the commitment, the dedication to our students, to our community, to our schools, and to the profession is beyond reproach. It's just incredible. And so thank you to the principals, HR, technology, business. You guys have to be here, but but you guys are you're always, here, you're pushing out into the community, very visible, just making an incredible difference and doing the work that is so impactful to making a difference in the lives of every single student. So thank you. And thank you to the board. I'm saying this because it is Thanksgiving and Mr. Kalaki inspired me to be thankful.
We are. And we are especially thankful for our next group of people.
Yes.
So, Mr. Kurt Bauer, would you like to help us?
I can do that. Thank you very much, President Caldwell, Superintendent Dr. De La Torre, members of the board, and our esteemed, even though you have to be here, executive team. It's my distinct pleasure to present to you the 7 National Merit semifinalists from San Marino High School this school year. Neil Chen, Michael Egan, Esther Leanne, Elsa Panning, Lillian Panning, Thaler Via Luna, and Arwen Wen. These students earned exceptional scores on the PSAT National Merit Qualifying Exam during their junior year. Nationwide, 16,000 seniors were selected to be semifinalists out of hundreds of thousands that took the exam last school year. These seniors are truly a select group of exceptional students. Of the 16,000 semifinalists, 2,500 will be named National Merit Scholars in February, and another 5,000 will be eligible for scholarships through the National Merit Scholarship Corporation. On top of college applications and the stress of senior year, these 7 students submitted a detailed application to become National Merit finalists in September. Our counseling team took the time to meet with each student, write individual recommendations specific to the award competition. It seems like you should be under a lot of stress, but I saw you out there and you guys were playing pretty hard. You'll have to get new coloring books and activity books for the kids because they just destroyed all of them.
Well, didn't they already earn it?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So
definitely.
it's in the rearview mirror, right? Pressure's off.
Party time for sure.
These students are again unique in many aspects. Their freshman year was cut short by the immediate school closure in the second semester of the 2019-20 school year. Their sophomore year was spent largely at home, making their last year their actual first full year of high school. Yet these students persevered to become semifinalists. These students took an average of 6 honors courses, 9 AP courses, including such SMHS only classes as our Caltech STEM research class, dance company, honors humanities at the Huntington Library. They participated in track and field, swimming, and cross country, as well as marching band, orchestra, journalism, and yearbook. The average GPA for these students is 4.41. These students are applying to their best fit universities such as MIT, Caltech, the University of Chicago, Georgetown, University of Michigan, UC Berkeley, many of the UCs, UCLA, UC San Diego, UC Santa Barbara, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Columbia, Cornell, UPenn, Dartmouth, Brown, Stanford, Johns Hopkins, Northwestern, and Duke. Please join me in congratulating these very hardworking, very deserving San Marino High School National Merit semifinalists for the 2022-23 school year. Now you have to go stand over there and they're going to take a picture with you
Yes.
because you're amazing.
Well, after we congratulate you.
Yes.
We really, well, I couldn't possibly imagine what you had to do to get there because I didn't do it, but it's an amazing achievement and we're really, really proud of you. I was doing some math because I can still do that. And I'm assuming we have classes of about 200 now. Is that about right?
This is one of our smallest classes.
Yeah.
87.
Okay, so it's even better than the numbers I calculated. So we have 3.5% of a class of 200 at a national merit finalist level. And the average is 1% across the country. So we're 3.5 times better than virtually anywhere else. Yeah, that's a huge achievement. And, you know, I guess I really wasn't thinking about it in the context of you doing Zoom classes and, you know, all of those other challenges that you had. So I'm actually glad you made it to high school. I'm really glad you made it to our high school and I'm really proud of your achievement. So congratulations. Yes. Okay, now we can take a picture if you want.
Now we can take a picture. Let's get the entire board in this photograph. Thank you, sir.
Maybe I'll get that.
Okay, everybody look right here. 1, 2, and.
Hey, good. Congratulations to all of you. We're so proud of you.
And to the parents too.
Yes.
Lucky you. Hopefully you'll have lots of good choices.
So I don't know if you realize, but we've got like engineering captain, we've got like decode. I brought one of our team over. I mean, these are all like the leaders on campus too. They're all amazing.
Well,
They're not just.
it all
about-
goes together.
About
So
the study.
we like great graduates and that's, I think, what makes a great graduate. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
That is so impressive.
Gosh, there's so many achievements. I don't even know where to begin.
Aren't we blessed? Okay.
'Tis the season.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go.
All right. Okay. President Caldwell, members of the Board of Education, Student Board Member Kelly, Trend, and executive team, I have the distinct pleasure this evening of just going over our Valentine Action Plan, which is aligned with the Board of Education's 4 broad goals that we have talked about for the last 3 meetings. So I will try to get through this as concisely as possible, particularly since it really aligns with the Carver plan, which you've already gone through. So again, this is the action plan based on our wildly important goals. So develop and implement fiscal health and sustainability, which is one of the board's goals. Valentine Elementary. Sorry, it's okay. Valentine Elementary School will develop and implement fiscal health and sustainability by increasing enrollment through positive marketing of the school. So you can see in the third column from the left, the time frame, the activities and the accomplishments column, which will be filled in as we go. And that was going to get, filled in very soon, actually, mid-year through the end of the year. So the activities for this particular goal, the administration will post 2 positive social media posts per week on school social media. And that is, that's happening. I have seen a variety of different posts from our wonderful principal related to all the positive programs and events that have been taking place at Valentine. And there was a cyclist that was jumping off of this ramp. What was that? What was that activity? Yes. Okay.
I saw that.
That
too,
was
by the way.
impressive. I thought that was a very impressive jump, right? But a very risky. Dr. Lynn was cringing, and I was clapping. I was clapping and he was cringing, but it was a great post, actually.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Kudos to you.
Yes. PTA will post 1 positive Facebook post per week on the PTA Facebook page, which they recently created, right, and are beginning to populate. So we're very excited about that. We are trying to increase our social media presence district-wide, and I think that we are well on our way to exceeding our original goal on that. Build tour sign up link to school calendar for the webpage. That is ongoing. That's happening. Perfect. Love it. We are holding a school tour at least once per month. And as she said, tomorrow she's got 8 prospective families coming through the Valentine campus. Outreach to local preschools, advertising tours. Both of our principals are going to be going out to all of the local preschools and advertising our programs. In addition to that, we are toying with the idea of creating our own preschool that would be a feeder into our TK plan, but more to be revealed on that later. Coordinating staff meeting agendas, leadership team meetings, professional development, grade level, and professional learning community meetings with Carver. One of the things that we're especially proud of is the fact that both of our elementary school principals are spending a lot of time collaborating to make sure that both schools are providing uniform programs and services to students. And so the experience that you get as a student is going to be basically the same whether you're at Carver or Valentine. And I think that's really important for our community. So thank you to the principals for doing that. Administration will coordinate monthly staff professional development with Carver. Again, they're collaborating and they're working on that together. That's ongoing. Attending Huntington Middle School and San Marino High School events and highlight to the Valentine community. Is that something that you want to talk a little bit about?
Sure. And our weekly Valentine Voice, we always put in events that are happening around the district. So the dance opportunities or the play that they had, we advertised that in our Valentine Voice for our families to attend. And then also just highlighting on social media things that I'm going to do.
Great, thank you for that. Under the board goal, creating a culture of service. And I just wish to express to the Board of Education that we have been talking about that district-wide, going out to faculty meetings and talking about the importance of creating a culture of service. And so Valentine Elementary School is ensuring that they respond to all parent emails within 24 hours. We want to make sure that we are being communicative and responsive, providing excellent, outstanding service to all of our parents, responding to staff inquiries within 24 hours, making sure that our internal stakeholders are receiving that same level of service and communication. Publishing a weekly newsletter inclusive of weekly highlights and activities that is happening with fidelity, attending all PTA board meetings and sharing out weekly activities and highlights. That's happening. And as a matter of fact, you've heard a lot this evening about the recent wellness and safety meeting that was held, and all 4 of our principals were there participating and engaging, including Valentine's principal. Schedule and attend monthly grade level lead meetings and share out activities and highlights. That's ongoing, happening all the time. Visiting every single class weekly, providing informal feedback in written format. We have talked about the importance and the value of being in the classroom, observing instruction, providing support and feedback, and that is happening on a regular basis. Conducting weekly drawings of Carver Pioneer students and announcing them over the PA. That is ongoing. Under the board goal, demonstrating a culture of value and appreciation to our employees. Carver Elementary School will create a culture that values and expresses appreciation to employees by honoring achievements, recognizing employees, investing in professional development, and in a safe work environment. We are including celebrations and shout outs in every staff meeting that's happening ongoing, highlighting exciting events, learning activities in our classrooms on Facebook weekly, naming the teacher and grade level that is ongoing, including staff highlights for the certificated and classified in the weekly newsletter that is happening all the time. Continuing C's Candy celebrations, you heard about that. Oops, I'm in the wrong one, I'm sorry. Oops, sorry. They are similar, but not, the C's Candy thing is yours, so I apologize. Okay, let me go back down here. Highlighting staff certificated classified in the weekly Valentine Voice newsletter with a picture every month. Working with social committee to create events for staff for special events. Monthly birthday celebrations. Scheduling and ensuring that the staff lounge duty is happening. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So every week, a different staff member has what we call lounge duty. And it's a way that they bring in treats for the lounge for all staff members to enjoy. It just becomes then a place where we can congregate and talk and, you know, hang out during recess or lunch and just building that community within our school.
Thank you. Another thing that Valentine is doing along with the other 3 schools is that we are recognizing an employee every month whose picture is displayed at the district office. And we are actually going to begin to place those pictures on that wall. We are going to also be looking at pictures of all of the board members who have served the district. And so we're going to be pulling those pictures and we're going to put them on probably this wall here. And so we plan to really have you'll be up there.
I run into
Recognition
people literally every day who tell me I am on their mantle from handing them a diploma. And
You're
it's
gonna
like,
be on
it is
our
the
wall.
scariest thing ever. I cannot imagine.
Will Jeannie's picture go twice? 'Cause
Oh,
she's
I think
on
it
that,
should.
yeah, or Joseph's 5 times.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
What
right.
we do is have the board members take their picture and then draw it. Compare to these maps.
Blindfolded.
I don't need to be blindfolded.
Show
It'll
the
be
true skill that's already up
unrecognizable.
That's an option. That's an option. We can ask the new board if they want to consider that. So we think that we're really doing a good job of recognizing and acknowledging and elevating our internal stakeholders, our employees. And so I think we're really doing a great job with respect to that. The board's goal of producing high quality global citizens. Valentine Elementary School will ensure citizens or students become global citizens by advancing quality programs, excelling in the 4 A's, creating opportunities for social awareness and competency, providing robust counseling services, and engaging students in real world experiences and opportunities. And so the action step for Valentine to accomplish that goal is to schedule positive behavior intervention systems and multi-tiered systems of support professional development, which is ongoing. They're going to do that monthly for the entire certificated staff, and they will be developing action items, timelines, and accountability measures based upon each meeting's topic and focus. And so can you talk a little bit about where you are with that action step?
Sure. So we met with our EIS team and also our UDL team. And we've done 1 day of training. And so now we're bringing that to our staff the following staff meeting day. And the team of teachers are really the ones that are training each other, training on what they learn from the day's training, but then also we talk about implementation of what we learned and bringing that to the whole staff.
And so in terms of this professional development, can you speak to the board about how it connects to creating or producing high quality global citizens in our classrooms with our students?
Of course, so with PBIS, right, we have to have that positive behavior in order to create that safe learning environment that we need to start with. With UDL, we're talking about how can we build lessons that have strategies where we can reach all learners, that it's not specific, one lesson plan for all. It's how can we build in those supports within our lessons, and it could be with student choices, giving them options of products that they want to create, giving them voice in what they're learning. And so we're doing that and building the global citizens because then they have a voice in their education.
Mm-hmm. And can you talk about providing students with real world experiences and opportunities? In what way is the school doing that?
Absolutely. So within our curriculum, within our daily instruction, we're trying to implement a lot of performance tasks and giving them, how will this relate to the real world and why are we learning it? I think that's really important for students to know the why of what they're learning. And so we're doing that through our daily instruction.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much. And that is the Valentine Elementary School action plan related to the Board of Education's for broad-based goals. Do you have any questions?
I have some.
Sure.
So I kind of reserved a lot of my comments after hearing all four of them. So these are going to be sort of broad, addressing more all of the sites. So I wanted to see a little bit more of direct action in terms of, I'll take it apart in terms of the first goal. So the fiscal health and sustainability. One of the concerns that I have, and I'm not sure that that's something that was a very, very apparent in this, was looking at the sustainability at each school site in terms of their relationship with the PTAs and the boosters. The PTAs and the boosters play such a huge role in our schools in terms of being able to provide a higher caliber of education to our students because they fill the gap, not just of what the foundation does in providing teachers, but providing all of those extra programming, like the robotics. I took a group of kids and we're doing a little first Lego League team, and when we went to the robotics group, and they were telling me how they need to raise about $10,000 a year to build the robots. Dance puts on these shows and they use those monies to supplement their programs. Band has to travel. And so much of our schools programs, extra programs beyond the classroom rely on that. And so I'm not sure that I saw enough addressing how to create the sustainability within those relationships, how to leverage that in a way that's going to ensure that we have longevity. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like in terms of what if that money isn't always there. And so I think thinking about that, not necessarily that they have to come up and say, here's what we're doing, but just knowing that there has to be a backup plan, just as the board is thinking plan B for us.
So it is situational based on our budget. And I don't necessarily see that as being the individual school site principal's responsibility. I see that as more of a central district office planning for our district budget in connection with the PTAs, and the boosters are separate 501c3s. Gosh, for the last 3 decades, we have always said we can't rely on the revenue of these booster clubs. And we have, and we do, but we can't, as far as it being a guarantee every single year. But our boosters exist to be a fundraising arm of the program that they support. And our thought on that is that, first of all, we know that there was legislation recently passed, right, to provide additional funding for visual and performing arts programs. So let's just talk about that for a minute. We don't yet know exactly what that's going to look like in terms of how much San Marino Unified School District will receive of that money and whether or not that money can be a backup for some of the monies that are raised by our PTAs at the elementary, as an example. So in the past, what we have said is, you know, some of these enrichment programs exist because we have parents raising money, and they would not otherwise exist in San Marino. Today, when we went out to the high school, we talked a lot about our budget and how we receive as a school district considerably less in revenue than any of the other school districts around. School districts like Azusa Unified School District, they're getting what, $16,000 per student. We get $13,500. Laguna Beach gets $27,000 per student, right? So we cannot count on booster revenue, and the PTAs have been very successful over the years in raising monies and deciding to support enrichment programs at the elementary. And if we could get them out of the business of doing that, we would, but we can't.
And I'm not necessarily implying that we need to find ways to alleviate their burdens.
Yeah.
I mean, truth be told, I think we have so many parents in this community, they wouldn't know what to do with themselves if we didn't ask them to keep helping. I think that is their way of being involved in their child's education. And so it's a great gift that they give us in doing that. And so it's not as much that I'm thinking we need to be able to alleviate that burden somehow, although that would be nice. I think it's more a matter of being really clear about what those expectations are, what those boundaries are. And I know Dr. Lynn already started some of that work with our boosters to really have those clear set guidelines of where's the operational authority, where's the clarity around how the money is used and making sure that the money is used appropriately. I guess my point is more a matter of all of that has over the decades in which this is operated become somewhat murky. And so I think seeing some clarity as a goal to ensure the fiscal health and sustainability of it. And I'm not sure what that looks like. That's why I'm not necessarily saying this is what you do. This is just something that I know, looking at it from the other end, from the booster end, from the parent end, that it always concerns me that there is such a reliance on it. And so what are the clear plans? What's the backup plan?
Well, the backup plan is that we don't have those programs if we don't have the revenue to support it, because the district really doesn't have any way to come up with that revenue. We have 2 parcel taxes and a schools foundation that is helping us pay for teacher salaries. So we don't have any ongoing stream of revenue to pay for a lot of the enrichment that we have in San Marino. And there really isn't any other option other than asking our parents to help support the schools in that regard. As far as like TAB, as an example, there has been a lot of work done over the years to bring all of those different booster clubs under one umbrella. And then, you know, these 501c3s have to be approved by the Board of Education. It's supposed to be annually as a school connected organization. And so we have to look back at our policy on that issue, and they need to come before the board to be approved and renewed as a booster organization. And we've spent a lot of time as an executive team talking about this issue recently, because we agree that there is not as much clarity as we would like. And then, you know, we even went back and talked about, you know, a FICMAT presentation, and really boosters are there. We don't have control or direction other than the board approving them as a school connected organization, but they exist to raise money for the district programs, but we decide what those programs are. So they should just be, all they should be doing is raising the money and giving it to the district so that we can fund our program. But I think what has happened over the years is, and especially during the pandemic when there wasn't close oversight, I guess, and we really don't exist to oversee them. We don't audit them. We don't get involved in that. They're supposed to have their own audits independently. But really they need to raise money and work with the site principal on what the program needs are, and donate the money. And then the district uses that money to support that program that they're raising money for. I think they've been making some decisions though on how the money is spent.
That predates that predates COVID, like by decades, just
Okay.
FYI.
No, I'm saying that the not so clear.
Well, the
oversight or
tab
connection.
piece
Yeah.
is different, right?
Yes.
So that wasn't there when I was around, but I mean, in reality, what the booster clubs are doing is certainly raising money to support the programs, but they are also working not so much with the principal, but with the coach around where the program is going and how the program is getting there and how much money it takes to get them there. So they're really visionaries about what they can do. I think that the interesting part about this there are a lot of interesting parts, but you know, like the one that just keeps jumping out at me is I hear what you're saying, that we don't have the money to do it absent the booster clubs. And we've always said that, and quite honestly, when we started our co-curricular focus, we said it then too. But we're now 2 decades in, and you know, in the course of 2 decades, we're seeing it's equally as important.
Yeah.
Right. So we're saying these are co-curricular programs, yet our money is prioritizing academics because we have to. So I'm not saying that's the wrong thing. I'm not saying that's wrong at all, but in 2 decades, we continue to operate that way. And, you know, correct me if this isn't where you're headed, but I mean, I think, you know, the board should think about ways where we're not entirely dependent on a group of active parents to ensure that our co-curricular mandate exists. Is that?
I think that's part, yeah, I mean, that would be simplistic and naive to say that that could possibly happen short of having lagunas, beaches, you know, per student. So I get that, you know, and I'm not trying to be, and I don't mean to be naive about it. I think it's just, I'm not sure exactly what that.
So, first of all, I think we need to take a step back and wait and see what kind of revenue we're going to be getting as a result of the legislation that recently passed with visual and performing arts, and whether or not that is going to mean that we can, you know, use some of that money to support the programs that we're right now relying on PTA to support.
PTA and boosters or just PTA?
Well, we're talking about different things, right? And so
Entry levels right now.
yeah, I think we're bouncing back and forth. So, so at the elementary, a lot of our neighboring districts don't have the music and art programs that we have in San Marino, even though they get more funding from the state, because it's not a requirement at the elementary and because they don't have the money to support it. But we prioritize it in San Marino as being, you know, part of the 4As and as important as President Caldwell said, because we're educating the whole child and we want to have something for everyone. And so our community partners with us and their priority is to educate the whole child as well. And so I think that is important to our parents, that we offer that. And so historically, we have been able to provide that through their generous donations. But we have always said, and I agree with you, President Caldwell, that, you know, it's about prioritization, but at a time when we are overall declining in enrollment,
It's hard.
it's hard and it's not getting easier, right? So maybe this funding, and school services hasn't even sent anything out on it yet because it's so new. We need to figure that out first before we can even really speak to the impact of that. But traditionally, San Marino gets a lot less than everybody else because of the population that we serve, right? So if it's going to be divvied up the way everything else is based on unduplicated count, or we don't know yet. And so that might be, though, it might be better than it is now, and we might be able to use some of that money. That would be the first time, right, that this school district has been able to receive any funding for that specific program.
Again, are you talking about high school only, or you also talking about elementary?
I think I'm just talking about all four of the site plan and the district office plan as well. I think part of it is about the money.
Mhm.
It's, you know, you can't ignore the fact that the money is what the money is. But I think also for me, part of it is the relationships that we have that are the foundation
Mhm.
of the effort that goes into raising those
Mhm.
monies. And I'm just not seeing as much of that.
Mhm.
Where's the relationship? How is that being leveraged? How is that looking to build on that partnership? I think that
Mhm.
you're talking about, and I know that we have strong partnerships. And so this
Mhm.
does go back to we already do those things. And so these are
Right.
not necessarily new
Right.
things, right? So I know that we have those strong partnerships, but I think for me, I'm concerned when I see our schools struggling to raise the kind of funds they used to raise 5-10 years ago because our student populations are changing.
Right.
And so how are we addressing that? How are we even looking at that? Are we even looking at that? Because I don't want to be caught with us suddenly going, oh, wow, they didn't hit their fundraising goals.
Mhm.
And, or, oh, wow, here's this big ticket item that they didn't raise enough money for. And so I want to be able to
Well,
have some plans.
Yeah,
of
so
how
the
we're addressing.
plan for that, which you're not going to see in the elementary school action plan, would be that we're going to go to our, okay, so if we are, let's use the elementary as an example, relying on PTA to pay for our art and music program. And let's say that they fall short, right? But we usually know what they have in their budget prior to the school year, even kicking off. So I don't see this happening, but let's just imagine that for some reason they had a big expenditure that they wanted to cover. They didn't end up having the money to support those two programs. We would then have to go into our reserve, which is why reserves are important for that 1 year, to fund the program, because you've already started your school year and you've already made plans. And then we would have to either work with the PTAs to come up with that money for the following year, or we'd have to come back to the board and talk about, how we're going to fund that program going forward, or are we going to fund that program going forward? I would hope that we would find innovative ways, but you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip, right? So the reality is that, in our school district, we do rely very heavily on local streams of revenue. And we have for decades. And I don't know that we can continue to at the same level. I hope so, because it's part of what makes our school district so great, is that we have that partnership with our community. And so far that hasn't been a problem. They have been able to raise the money to support our programs. So I don't see any program that is falling short at this point with respect to boosters, or TAB, or so athletics, arts, they're all doing really well. So I don't even see it's not a problem this year. Do you disagree?
Well, I think I have a lot of friends. Those kids do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And they often will lament to me that their boosters have to raise X number of dollars. And I throw it back and say,
Yeah.
look, you're the ones who want to go to these festivals. You're the ones who want to go to these, competitions. You're the ones who want this level, quality. And so I'm not saying it as an excuse. I'm just saying they recognize that.
Yeah.
I think there's just has to be an acknowledgement of
Mhm.
there's a big demand that we put. And I just want to make sure that we're really looking to how we continue to fund
The
them.
only way that we can continue to fund it is through the partnership of the parents.
So I think that if I was just gonna say that the concerns that Jane, that you're bringing up
Mhm.
are equally applicable to every one of the 4As.
Yeah.
Including
Oh,
academics.
yeah, no,
If we didn't have a foundation and a group of people that are donating to the foundation every year, we'd have 20 less teachers.
Right.
And our academics would not be what they are.
Oh, yeah, no.
So, I mean, it applies across the board.
Right.
Right.
The
Right.
existence of our superior district exists because of the vested payment. the
So,
buy-in of
yes.
the community.
right.
To the
30
extent that it's
we
happening.
talked about this, about 30% of our revenues comes from local
Parcel
resources.
taxes.
Yes.
Right.
That is a reality that we have had in the school district for a very, very long time. The only way that we can increase our revenues without asking parents for money is to increase our student enrollment. Or the way that the state funds school districts, if we had foster youth. So if, you know, a good faction of our community decided to foster kids and enroll them in our schools, we would get a lot more money. If we had students who qualified for free and reduced lunch, we would get a lot more money, revenue. So those are the only ways that we can be more financially independent, or if we ever qualified to be a basic aid district. So those are the ways that, I mean, we're limited. Those are the ways that we can do that, aside from raising money privately.
True. So I was
Mhm.
actually going to try to, you may have more questions, but I think we should have a broader topic on this on the agenda where we give Linda the questions kind of in advance and kind of think through it. But I'll just make one other point, and I'd agree there are limited options.
Mhm.
But as you may or may not know, my daughter is an attorney for foster children.
Mhm.
And one of the things I've learned in that process is that foster children are moved at least twice every year, high school to high school. So in the course of a 4-year term of high school, they probably attend 8 high schools. Every time you move into, you know, a new high school with a different situation of, you know, kind of where they are in English, where they are in math. So it's virtually impossible for that child to be able to graduate from high school and have the requisite, you know, classes, programs, whatever,
Sad.
to be able to qualify to get into college. And, you know, so they're extraordinarily limited in that regard. You know, there's got to be a fix for that.
Yeah.
And the fix could very well be a solution where San Marino goes to the county
Mhm.
and says, we would like to house,
Mhm.
not necessarily have them be children here, but we've never had a bus. Why couldn't we get a bus? We could send it to certain areas and pick some of these children up and keep them in our high school,
Mhm.
really give them a chance. The county of LA pays for college for any eligible student that gets out of that foster, you know, that graduates from high school and can get into college. 100% room,
Wow.
board, tuition, everything. Make a huge difference.
Mhm.
So there are, you know, I think it's a matter of kind of looking at I don't know if that's a solution for us or not. I can tell you that ever since she told me, that's been a problem I've been mulling along.
Yeah.
Because I think it's, you know, it's an unfortunate circumstance, but it's the way things are. And the way it gets better is breaking the cycle. So just, I think we could creatively address it and would suggest that we create an agenda item at some point where we talk about that sort of thing, which deals with this and potential solutions.
I have 2 things and I'm not going to talk about it. It's going to bring it up. And because one of them is simple, it's just the timetable for revisiting the action plan. When
We revisit the action plan at every principals meeting that we have to find out where we're at with everything. And so the next one is Friday.
but more for reporting back, because I mean, monthly for the board is
Yeah,
not effective.
we're, well, the plan is, I mean, we're gonna talk about and present out more globally during the State of the District address in February. So the board will know whether we have met these goals and in what ways we have met these goals. And we'll be talking about the initiatives to be implemented for the following school year. Another thing that we are talking about is possibly going to the bargaining table and discussing different schedules for the high school for next year. And so we plan to be able to talk with the board and the community during our State of the District address in February on all of those items.
And then lastly, this is not, I'm not talking, we're not talking about now. This is I would like for us as a board to consider what our action plan and activities might be. And that might be a study session, that might be something coming down the line as we sort of figure out how we look and what we're doing. But to me, all of this shouldn't be done alone by the administration and staff. And I'm not talking about the board getting in the weeds of the work. I'm talking about as a board, if these are our goals, what are we doing as a board? To help support these goals as well. So, and that's just something I think is my suggestion that we look at doing.
So just, going back to governance 101 and thinking about that, it is the board is looking at this globally. The board comes up with the vision and staff does the work to figure out how to implement the vision of the board.
Right.
So the board, no board is.
Right.
The board does three things.
Yeah.
We come up with goals.
Yeah,
We hire a superintendent.
Yes.
And we give her a budget.
yes,
And there you go. And now you go and
Do the
you
work.
implement, you come up with a
Mhm.
plan
right,
and you make it happen. I
yeah,
mean, that's all we do, right?
yes.
But I think exempting ourselves from the accountability.
Oh, no, you hold us accountable.
No,
but,
I'm saying
yeah.
exempting ourselves from the active being accountable
That's
to it
elections.
as well.
Right.
I mean, that's what elections.
That's true, Jane. This has been vetted with, CSBA's model. This has been vetted with what other school districts do.
Supports board self-evaluation.
Yes, self-evaluation,
Yes.
absolutely, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something that you
And
guys
that's
should
what I'm
consider.
talking about. I'm not
Oh, okay.
talking about us doing this. I'm not talking about us
Oh, okay.
doing
I
the
thought that's what
action
you were-
plan. I'm
okay.
talking about board self-evaluation.
Okay.
In alignment with what our goals
Then
are.
I'm sorry, then I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about like
No,
coming
no,
up
no,
with
no.
the action plan.
No, no, no.
Okay.
I'm not saying that we get into, that's what I meant, like, we're not getting into the weeds. We're not
Thank
getting
you.
into
Okay.
this is what you do.
Right.
This is evaluation of it. I'm talking about the board. We set goals
Uh-huh.
and we need to be looking at how we are meeting the goals as a board self-evaluation tool.
Well, we're meeting the goals that you set. We're doing the work, right? And so you guys just need to make sure that we're doing the work that you want us to do to accomplish your goals. But you guys shouldn't be working on the goals other than holding me accountable.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pull it back and say this is, so I guess I'm not talking to you so much as I am talking to my four
Okay.
other board
Thank-
members. that
okay, got
It's
it.
something that we need to be thinking about
Okay.
somewhere down the line at some point, not tonight.
Yeah. Okay. Got
Okay.
it. Thank you.
So thank you for the comments and agree it needs to go on the
Yeah.
to be planned discussions.
I want to thank our Valentine principal for
Yes.
coming and presenting for us tonight. Thank you so much. And for sharing your ideas and doing the work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so shall we move on to Facilities Advisory Committee? So Stephen, I don't know, I didn't send this to you earlier. I don't know if anyone else did, but there's a document that I just sent you literally 3 seconds ago. That we're referencing here, so we probably should pull it up. I don't know how long it'll take to get from a cell phone to your inbox. So.
It's the one that we just, yeah.
I just thought we should pull it up. And it's just the Word document.
There you go.
All right, it's,
It's loading. It's coming up.
well, I'm glad it got there.
Like watching the bouncing ball.
So why is that bouncing? What does that mean?
It's processing because it's
trying to
a lot of
open.
video and Zoom and audio. It'll come up. There we go. It's coming up.
Is that an Apple thing?
No, it's- Particular machine doing a lot of things right now, but it's
You're PC girl. PC,
Mhm.
yeah. That's
Difference
business.
between education and business.
I know, that's very true. I go back and forth between both.
I couldn't possibly.
Really? I have PC at home and then back
The
here.
iPad is so.
Okay, so Mike and I met on Sunday, actually, to kind of go through this list. We talked about the people that you're going to see here as sort of our recommended group. And then we talked about a way that we would present that information to you, which I've tried to capture here. It took a bit to kind of get through it. So I literally sent it to Mike, I don't know, an hour before we met, I don't know, tonight. So so he certainly very aware of everything that's in it, but he hadn't seen the final form until, a little bit before our meeting started tonight. So this is a joint presentation. So Mike, you feel free to jump in, wherever. So I thought first what I wanted the group to know, and I think we touched on this when we met last time, we had 24 applications that we received, and then we had 3 individuals make requests for appointment, both of which were options that we agreed we would consider. I got to say that the applicant pool was extremely well qualified. It was a very, very strong pool. And so it was actually difficult to get to this list. The list that you see in front of you is a recognition by us of, probably one of the most important things, which is that a really large committee is unwieldy and difficult to kind of work through to get to sort of a final outcome. So before we started, we had established a goal of about 15 people to be on the committee. So this is 17. You're going to see that I totaled it, number at the bottom. It's also a business thing. So there are 17 people that we're recommending here. I took the information we received on the applications and put it on a spreadsheet so that Mike and I could go through and kind of compare the applications kind of in broad form. And so a couple of things I thought might be particularly relevant for this group is not only seeing the names, but kind of understanding grades, and to the extent that it was indicated on the application. I put in there the campuses where those individuals, those parents have had experience. So essentially where their kids have gone. When you see the former language there, it means that this is someone who is, a former active parent in the district. I think in our previous facilities advisory committee, we considered them community members. So they're that, but many of them are fairly recent graduates of the district. So that is part of it. 3 of them are former facilities advisory committee members for the last one. So that's Paul Callahan, Bob Horgan, and Jeff Morris. All 3 were on the last facilities advisory committee. So I point that out. We also had, I think, 3 students, high school students who applied. We selected one of the 3 students, Justin Lynn here. And largely, in his case, he had a lot of experience already working on the preservation of the Michael White adobe. So there was a lot of interest among all 3 students, but again, we're still limiting. We were trying to limit the active group to about 15. So we got to 17, and we think this is a strong group here. What we talked about is, because the rest of the applications were also strong, and it's a little bit difficult to know on day one where you're going to end up with the committee. We thought that to the extent that the other applicants might be interested, all facilities advisory committee meetings are open and anyone can attend. And, lots of people did that in our previous version. So we would encourage any member who wasn't selected as among, any applicant who wasn't among the 17 here that really had interest to come to the meetings. And, there may be opportunities to add people. If there's some new functions that need to be created, or perhaps someone that's on this list is unable to continue. Certainly if they are part of the meetings, there's less to catch up on. That is a really big challenge in a facilities advisory committee. You think about it, between now and 2 years from now, a decision, something needs to occur. And we're going to talk a little bit about it as we get further into this, but there are a lot of pieces that have to happen. And for this committee to ultimately make a recommendation to the board, they're going to have to be knowledgeable about all those pieces. And there are, it's just extraordinarily complex. And so missing meetings or coming in late is going to be a real challenge for the committee to be able to deliver the recommendation that this board will ultimately need to take action on.
If I could just add
Mhm.
one other thing, definitely inviting them to the Facilities Advisory Committee meetings, but recognizing that anybody that applied is an asset to our district. And they want to be a part of what's going on. So they're an invaluable resource. So even if for some reason they're not part of this, there is most definitely somewhere where they can fit in. So we want to try to reach out to them to see how we can bring them in and get them involved.
And kind of, to further that a little bit, we also believe that the board should, in whatever action we do or don't take tonight, the board considers that they really need to retain the right to appoint future members. There may be people the board would like to see on the committee at some point that, you want to be able to do that. And we also would recommend that there be an opportunity for either the board and or the Facilities Advisory Committee itself to appoint or to identify advisory committee type people that might be able to assist with a lot of the knowledge that we have had by the first two bonds and then the subsequent attempts at looking at facilities in between then and what this one's going to be. There's a lot of knowledge in this community, and I always like to think that you want to begin a bit with the end in mind. You don't want to presuppose the outcome, but that there has to be an outcome, and in this case that's going to be a recommendation. There are stages to how this a facilities project works, and the first stage is sort of the scoping one, but there will be subsequent versions of committees that should you just choose to move forward, need to also be considered. And there are people still in our community who are very instrumental in some of those efforts, and I think they can add value and help folks sort of expedite the learning a little bit. And so I think it's important that you recognize this isn't one and done. I mean, this is the absolute definition of organic. And so we just want to make sure that, that the board's thinking about that. So the other thing is that should we agree to move forward with this slate of committee members, one of the things that was noticeable in the applications is, despite the fact that, the documents that that members had, I don't think everyone fully understood that this was a scoping exercise, not a manage a contractor exercise. So the scoping exercise is what gets you to the point where you make a decision about, are you going to move forward with some of the capital needs that are identified or not? And if you do move forward and you decide to fund that through whatever financial means, are determined, there are legal ramifications about the steps that you have to put in place to manage the funds that ultimately build whatever needs to be built or refurbish what needs to be refurbished. That's another committee, which will likely have elements of some of this committee, but it's an entirely different committee that's prescribed by law. And so we need to kind of consider that. And I think that, when we notify these committee members, if they're approved, that they've been approved, we need to make clear to them what the job is. Because if they think they're going to negotiate contracts, that's not what they're going to be doing. And so it just needs to be, they shouldn't be surprised when they get there. So in the document that I provided to you all, I kind of, if you flip to the second page, I think the kinds of questions they need to be thinking about are the ones that are listed here. What work is required to maintain the existing buildings? What buildings need to exist for the next several decades? What's the cost of the work that's needed, and how can that work be funded? And what is the committee's recommendation for all of the above? I mean, that's fundamentally what this committee is going to be doing. I'm going to talk a bit in the next section about, what I think needs to be covered, what facts, what information is needed to be able to make that recommendation. But first, I think the number one thing the board has to do after it approves the list of, committee members is to establish leadership of that committee. I think that we need to identify the chair, and we need to have the chair accept responsibility. I also think that that chair needs to get into what these steps are and work with district staff on sequencing and timing, because the work of the committee is going to be very dependent on the activities that are going to need to come from contracts the district is going to need to sign with a variety of vendors here, entities, professional services to deliver those results. This is not, this isn't some small thing where somebody goes off and Googles the answer. This is like hiring pretty, expensive professionals that need to come in and provide, rock solid information on which, the bedrock of the decisions and recommendations are ultimately made. So that chair is an extraordinarily important role. We've talked a lot about chairs in the past, and I'm going to just highlight here that I think that the chair needs to be someone who has the ability to carry this role well into the future. So like if you look at it today, our last bond, we're at about the 25th year, right? Isn't that kind of, I think, where we are today? And we're at the end of that bond. Prior to that, there were probably 2 to 5 years where the planning for that bond occurred. So this is a 30-year job. So, 30 years, think about how old we are. Let's add 30 years. And, maybe it's not the people in this room, but it really needs to be a body of people who can bridge that knowledge gap from the ancient people like me to the people yet to be involved, who are going to need to carry this mantle in 30 years. So that we have to think of here. And I think the leadership of this committee is a very important component of doing that, which means we need a chair, and I think we need an equally strong vice chair. But the chair for sure, we need to pick soon, ideally tonight, so we can ask that person to take on that role, arm twist as required, and then we can deal with vice chair shortly thereafter. So what do I think? What did, Mike and I talked about this and he concurred, but, just so you're thinking a little bit about it, the kinds of things that need to happen. And, especially if you're looking at 2-year timeline, and a recommendation would have to be made within 18 months to be able to hit that 2-year timeline. So, you're looking at an 18-month window here, which given a lot of things we do seems like a lot of time. But in this case, it's not. And so I want you to think about 18 months in terms of what I'm about to talk through. So we've already talked about as a board the need to update our facilities plan. So our current facilities plan, is a little bit older. It's not as detailed as it needs to be. We have to have a very, very robust facilities plan, which not only lays out all of the activities, but it has a very strong cost structure built into it. So that's sort of piece number one. And that requires professional expertise. So we have to go out and find, sort of a contracting consulting services company, which, we've used in the past. Maybe we can easily bring someone back in. But I think that this is a super important role, because it's likely the kind of role that will ultimately lead into contract management for us. And so it's a long-term partnership if we do it right. And, we're much better off to take the time to pick the right company now, right service now, and be able to have someone that goes through the end. And there's multiples. I mean, you have the architect, you've got the professional services, you've got, financial planning, all of those things have to all be in there, and they don't always all exist in the same company. So you kind of have to think through all of that. The other thing I think has to be resolved is, how many students are we planning for? Is this 2,200 student district or a 3,200 student district? And that can't be us wishing, hoping, and guessing. There needs to be a demographer, a market researcher that goes out and says, here's what we expect the world to do, and here's what we think that looks like in San Marino. Here's what your student population is going to be. Here's what the current percentage is that attends private school, and here's what the percentage is that attends public school. And then you as a board can decide, of that, what do you think you want to solve for? What's the number, and how does that look? Because I think this is a question that our community should be asking of us, and it's how we're maximizing, the use of, the community's money and the community's facilities with regard to education. The vision for education over the next several decades. We talked a lot about the advisory committees that we put into place. Those have to be implemented immediately, because those advisory committees need to be working with staff and, other leaders within our organization, and potentially education organizations, to help define what education is going to look like in 20 to 30 years. We can't do that. That's like, we really have to look forwardly. And, I think we have to have, again, sort of a rock solid vision for all of our areas of focus, to affirm that they should continue to be our areas of focus in 20 to 30 years. But also that we have a good plan for how we're going to get there. We need to talk again about bonding capacity for SMUSD. We did that at the last bond. I think the number was 240 million, if I remember correctly. It may still be, it may be less, maybe more, hard to say. Interest rates are up, that impacts bonding capacity. Values in San Marino are up. That also impacts bonding capacity, but bonding capacity is really important because, absent there being another solution for funding what we're talking about, a bond's really it. And I know that sounds like you're presupposing the answer, but having done it once, the bond's really it. It's kind of like all you can really say. I've done it twice now, come to think of it. So the bond is it. And so understanding what that capacity is, I'm not suggesting we use it all, but I'm just trying to make sure you're kind of aware of what your options even are. So you need to know that. And so we have to have someone come in. We need to reaffirm that there aren't other financial options, because that's of course something that the community is going to expect of us. We need to also continue, and we talked about this last time too, nobody loves the idea that a very large chunk of our general obligation bond money is spent on deferred maintenance. It's like just not something that we particularly ever liked. But there is no other way to get capital funds in our district. We just don't, in any district, the state doesn't do that. It's not part of the budgeting process. And so, we are people here in our community that, try to do things the right way. And it's very, very difficult to sort of think about spending, just for the sake of argument, $200 million on a construction bond, and then have that be in paint or air conditioning units or roofs, all of which whose lifetime functionality is less than the actual bond is. It's kind of the equivalent of building on credit. And so it's not a great scenario. So I think that, while we have to do it that way, we have to be able to explain it, and we have to have, as much of a strong action as we can to really try to get creative for finding other ways. I know we've talked about an endowment, and endowment's probably the only real way to make that happen, but the dollar amount needed in that endowment is enormous for us to be able to turn that tide. We probably have to have 2 more bonds before we ever get an endowment big enough to be able to support it. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't have one. It just means we need to kind of have a vision about how we get there. So I think that that's something they have to do. They really have to lay out the calendar. Like if you're talking about the facilities plan, if we were to start the facilities plan tomorrow, that's based on what we have today. You then have the advisory committees come in with a new plan that'll change what we have in terms of facilities. So there has to be a version 2 of the facilities plan where whoever does the facilities work incorporates the to be done advisory committee work. This is just a huge amount of very big jobs that have to happen, and they need to be sequenced, they need to be timed. And I mean, we really have to make sure that whatever professionals we engage to do these things for us are going to hit the times we need to be able to use them to make a very solid recommendation. And then the other thing, and one of the members on the committee that you saw there actually has a background in film. I mean, he had a lot of other good things going on for him, but the film, there were 2 actually in there, and the film just jumped out at me because it is the perfect way to educate the community. One of the things that absolutely has to happen is we have to bring the community along with what we're learning. So, we start with this, 2-year time frame. I mean, probably after 3 months, there should be something that we develop that we could distribute through video, YouTube, whatever we want to do, where we're helping the community understand what's happening, why it's happening, what we're learning. So we have incremental learning and don't get to the end and everybody has to learn everything all at the same time. So in addition to, a background and skill sets for the folks in this list of construction, development, real estate, that kind of thing, there are people who also have skills like this particular gentleman does around movie production and how you may present facts, complex facts in a way that hopefully would be easier to tackle. So that's sort of what we were thinking. And we just wanted to make sure that, it would be real easy to just give you the list. But what we really wanted to do is to kind of give you the list in the context of how we selected the list and what we were thinking of in terms of the folks that we've identified needing to do. So Mike, did I miss anything? You want to add?
No, I mean, one thing I would add is I think that this list incorporates a nice mix of people who have shown their interest and their buy-in to our schools and their futures, as well as people who have children in younger grades that will be part of our district for a very long time. And so they want to see a good environment for their students. And so I think it's a good mix from different perspectives. Very talented people, all of the applicants really were. And so that was just one other factor that we kind of brought in, not only speaking to different parts of the community, but also getting those perspectives.
So there you have what we were thinking. Questions, comments?
First of all, I think I want to congratulate both of you
For coming up with a list.
Do not make me disappoint.
Good.
I think it's a good job for this 2-page. Yeah.
Good.
I think this is the nice gift for the Thanksgiving to the full members.
I hope many people agree on that.
Yes, I also want to thank Mike and Jeannie for working on this. One of the community members that worked on the last bond probably worked with you, but she wanted to remind us how difficult it is that if we underestimate the amount for the bond, how difficult it will be if you try to come out again. And she kind of like shook her fingers and kind of told me about that. I also want to ask about that whole, as a board and then as a committee, that sense of urgency and the unity of purpose when we're selecting a very mixed group of people. How do we build that in terms of that piece? Because, you have your creative people, you have your, the people that are working out in the field, you have
Well,
students.
if you're asking me how I did it last time, I think it's a little bit of feel, when you're the chair of a committee. I mean, we have, I think, a really great selection of people here. I don't know really, I mean, I know a handful of them, but I don't know any of them, right? I don't know how much time and commitment they're going to make to the project. And that's always something that you kind of learn a little bit over time. And I think that you really have to pull the group together to kind of get a sense of how that's going to work. In my case, last year, I had, the 3 members that you see here that I said were former Facilities Advisory Committee members. They were on the committee I chaired last time. And all 3 of them were incredibly instrumental in a number of areas of what happened with our committee. And I don't think I could have done the job without them, because they were willing to do whatever it took to kind of get things done and worked very hard in that regard. There were other people that were certainly equally as committed. They just, weren't able to take the time that some of the others were. And that's the part you just don't know. And so part of the reason I think we have to notify folks is to kind of get a sense of, here's when we're going to meet. Here's the frequency we're going to meet. And it could be more, it could be less. The other thing we had to do in our committee last time is we had a very short window and we didn't have the ability to get all of these components we're talking about here. So we really had to bring that entire committee up to speed on everything. And, so it's just a whole different plan, I think. If you were to do this, I think that once you've met with the group and you've kind of laid out like when we're likely to have things. So like between now and the end of the year or beginning of January, mid-January, we were able to identify the professionals that we want to bring in to assist us. And we could come up with what that structure and timing looks like. Then that gives the chair the ability to sort of sequence what the work effort is for the meeting. And I think you kind of have to know that. So I would think my guess would be it takes 60 days or so for that to happen. And a lot of it's very dependent on all of these other questions, getting the professional assistance that we need and a timing for having it delivered.
I think, Shelley, you're bringing up a very good point, because there's a window of opportunity that we have to be able to address with this. And those are good points. And I think that's why part of our discussion really focused on who we thought would be a good chair, because the chair is going to be the one that you need somebody that I believe has some historical context and experience. Somebody that is, I mean, everybody here, I believe, is bright, but we know that there's some people, or particularly one that I think Jeannie and I both agreed with would be a very valuable resource to fill that spot, that in a way that would address the questions that you're raising.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? I'm going to look at this from the other end of it, because I always want to look at everything from the other end of how you look at it, Jeannie.
Go for it.
So I understand who you picked. So provide for me an idea of who you left out, not by name, but what were some of the things that made these people stand out to you as opposed to the others? Because you said all 24 of them were just all really, or not all 24, but you said it was a very strong pool. So help me understand, what is it that we ended up giving up by taking these?
So some of the, so in some cases, there might have been folks that had, very similar strengths. And so if that were the case, we tried to pick the one that had the strongest application with those strengths. People treated the application differently. Some people, looked like they were applying for a job, and other people looked like, they just wanted to share their skill sets, but were less detailed in doing that. And so in the absence of further information, we tended to tip to the person with the more thorough application. So I would say that would be a big part of it. As we indicated, we had 3 students. While we'd love to have all 3 students on our committee, we still want to have a manageable group of, numbers. And so that's where the 15 to 17 came from. And we selected one of the 3. And as I mentioned, I think when we were going through it, there was one who indicated that they had already been involved in the Michael White Adobe and the preservation of the Michael White Adobe, demonstrating that they had some pre-existing interest in building. And it just seemed like the right decision. That student is a sophomore at the high school. And, a sophomore is really sort of the perfect level to be able to see this through to recommendation. I think the other 2 were as well, if I'm not mistaken, but they didn't have the Michael White Adobe preservation in there. There were 2 in this list that appeared to be business partners, potentially married. That didn't come across, but there were a lot of connections. And while both were incredibly strong, I mean, it could have been a toss up about how we made the selection. We selected one of the 2 because their backgrounds were very, very similar. So that's really how it went, is how we would make, in terms of that. I mean, of course, we probably left some amazing talent on the table somewhere, but I can honestly tell you that this table represents amazing talent.
Then on that note, do you feel because you were limited by the applicants in front of you, do you feel that there's any perspective that might be missing from this group?
I think that based on what I believe needs to happen, the work that needs to occur, if all of the people on this list with the backgrounds they've indicated have the same level of commitment and desire to deliver a project for the district, right? Not for their kids' school, because I can tell you right now, with the exception of the few kindergarten parents in here, very few will get the benefit of the work they're going to do. This is a pay it forward kind of deal here, right? This is for the kids we don't even know yet. That's who's getting the benefit of this. So as long as everybody understands that and they genuinely want to work for that purpose, this is a great group. If anybody doesn't meet that need, they probably need to recuse themselves.
Linda, in terms of your timeline and what you need and when you need it, what does that look like?
Well, we're hoping to get this committee together right after the holidays at some point, if that is possible. The work needs to begin as expeditiously as it possibly can, because as President Caldwell pointed out, there is a very abbreviated period of time for a considerable amount of work to get done. And it's something that the district is very anxiously awaiting. So sooner rather than later, please.
So the list is a recommendation from a committee, which I think makes it a motion, doesn't it?
It does. I would move to approve this list as approved members for the Facilities Advisory Committee.
Okay.
So I would offer an amendment to that only because except provisionally, based on the fact that we need to go to them. I'm
sorry, that's why I worded it as a list of approved members. They're approved. They can accept it if they want. That's why I worded it that way, but I understand what you're saying.
I see what you mean.
They're not appointed. They're.
Right, right,
these-
right.
we
These
approve-
would be approved lists. So this would be sort of the working list off of going to them and asking and then.
Well, but I think the notification needs to be a written one and they need to respond
Which we
based
will
on
handle. Yes.
this, you know, like more or less laying out. So I looked again to see about the meeting times and dates. It's what I see says twice a month, not alternate Tuesday, not first and third Tuesday. So I mean, if that exists somewhere, I didn't see it. And I think the other thing we need to make sure of when we do the notification is where, and that's part of the reason I think we need to identify a chair. Because the chair has to be able to lead the meetings, and so the chair needs to be deciding when those meetings are
Right.
going to be.
Agreed.
But that needs to be in the notification, and I think that you want them to know if they're going to meet on the first and third Tuesdays, they need to know to, you know, you can't have tennis on the first and third Tuesdays then, right? Tennis has to go.
Yeah.
And you do this. So like, I mean, you know, like we're all busy. People
Mhm.
have busy things and it's going to be about, are you able to make those changes? And so I think we have to be really clear here when those meetings are going to be.
Mhm.
And it's not going to be, they're going to be the only meetings. Very well, you could have additional meetings come up, but the core meeting structure, I think, needs to be identified because we should identify someone as a replacement right away, not crippled, not, you know, not just be crippled through the whole thing while they figure out how to be in 3 places at once.
So then I guess that begs the question of. Before we continue this discussion, let me second. For the record, let me second Mike's motion and then back to the conversation. So then I guess on the heels of that, then are there other people that you've identified that would be people we would go to for the sake of expediency, for the sake of if we're going to go, or do we just sort of start with this and then move from there?
I think we start with this. I mean, you know, we have 17, we wanted 15. Right.
Right.
So I think we have built in a couple of seats just to begin with. But again, you know, we have, you know, I made the note here that I think we let the folks that, you know, we weren't able to include in this list, you know, how much we appreciated their applications and how strong we thought that they were. And just the limitation was solely being able to have a workable number. And, you know, if we're really missing, you know, some skill set that we have still on this list, we might be able to go back to that person. But it's hard to say. Most everybody has, you know, some sort of construction architecture type background. And so there's a fair amount of that on here. It's probably the ancillary skills that we might be looking for. But I don't know. I mean, you know, I think this is a strong list and there's bench strength for almost everything.
And then in terms of the chair, are we approaching the chair, potential chair as well?
So why don't we vote on the list first and then we'll go to the chair conversation after that. How's that? So I have a first and a second. I don't think we have any more discussion. Kelly.
Yes.
Thank you. Mike.
Aye.
Joseph.
Aye.
Jane.
Aye.
Shelley.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so unanimous approval of the proposed list of FAC members. So shall I talk to you a little bit about what Mike and I had in terms of a conversation for chair? You want to hear that? So, you know, I know that there was previous conversation about that person being me. If I wasn't abundantly clear originally, I will be 62 in December. Like, I just want to lay this out. So in 30 years, I will be 92. This is a long time for me to hold on to this knowledge. So I am very willing to participate in whatever way the board wants, but I really, really want to recommend that we bring someone in that we can, you know, have be the chair and get all that knowledge that's substantially younger than me. And so in going through this list and reading the applications, I was really, really pleased to see Jeff Morris on the list. I couldn't have done the last recommendation without Jeff. I mean, he was extraordinary. I know Jeff's family. I've known Jeff a bit. We do attend the same church, but I had not worked with him like I did in the FAC before. In fact, I thought he was so amazing. I came back and asked the staff here to figure out if he could be a board member. And I thought he really would just be an extraordinary board member. Haven't been able to talk to him about that, but in the interim, I really do believe he is the right candidate to chair this committee. And I haven't talked to him about it. I don't know whether he'd say yes, but he can't say yes if we don't ask him. And so that's who I propose. And I think that, we have him be that person, using his skill set and historical knowledge, and work with the rest of the committee. And then I think we need to immediately name a vice chair. And, Jeff could help with that if he agrees, because we shouldn't have all the leadership in one person. Things happen, and things change, and we need somebody ready to step up. And we might be able to create a bit of a partnership, but his historical knowledge is going to be critical. And so that's why I would recommend him.
I will say I completely 100% agree with Jeannie on that. And in fact, before Jeannie, in our conversation, before she mentioned Jeff Morris, I had looked at, I had seen his name and said, what I know of him, he is a valuable, invaluable resource and asset. I think he would do a great job. From what I know of the last FAC, I was not on the FAC, but from what I know of it, he was very valuable. And I know from when I was attending board meetings in the audience at that time, Jeannie, as the chair, was actually, I think, bringing up Jeff at various times as part of the presentation, because she knew that he was a great asset. So I had complete confidence in him as chair as well. I would make a motion to approve Jeff Morris as the chair if he would accept that position.
Okay.
I don't know if we need a motion, do we? I don't know.
We need whoever it is, we need the board to approve our asking them, I think. I don't think it can be a unilateral kind of thing here. Okay, so well, do we have a second? Do we have conversation? What are we thinking here?
Okay, I second.
Thank you, appreciate that. Any conversation?
Okay, I'm gonna do it again.
Go for it.
From,
I challenge
the
you
other
to find the
side-
side I haven't looked at.
well, no. Now we're gonna be here all. I know, exactly. You and I could go with this all night. We need to let everyone go home at some point.
Well,
Took that clock off.
Yeah, right.
right? We're good though. We're still good.
Well, so my other question is, my question is simply this, he sounds like he is the right man for the job. Is there any other person on this list who you see could be as effective as you feel he might be in that role?
So the big benefit for him is that he was on the prior committee. And, with just a couple of exceptions here, no one else was on the committee. And the other two people who were there on the committee, I mean, they were incredibly instrumental, but they weren't part of, helping me kind of put the final pieces together and deliver the recommendation. They were helpful with their professional expertise. I mean, he was, obviously Jeff was as well, but he was also very helpful with aggregating a tremendous amount of information into a format that we could show to everyone to demonstrate why we were recommending going forward. And, I think it's the combination of all of it. It's kind of it's having the professional background, it's having, the ability to take complex ideas and articulate them in a way that everyone can understand them. And I mean, I believe he has the necessary leadership skills to lead a group of what I believe will be very strong professionals. And, if you know anything about me, I'm a pretty big stickler on leadership. And I don't mean management, I truly mean leadership. And he is a leader. And I don't know the rest of the group well enough to know who has leadership skills there. But whoever that may be could be the vice chair, so that we're, sort of also expanding that leadership skill set as well.
And I think then in that case, given the time factor that we are looking at, having somebody up and running, already well versed in the work already done would certainly be a benefit.
I think so.
So
Any
don't-
other? I know Casey's trying to call you. Don't look at this.
I'm afraid, is he even listening?
He is. He is
Oh,
actually
God.
an attendee on.
And
Is
has
he raising his hand yet?
I know.
Our attendees on webinar do not.
Okay,
I
well,
think the good news is he's still attending.
He hasn't hung up yet, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
all right, so we have a first and a second. Do we have any more conversation, any more discussion? Okay, so shall we vote? Kelly,
Yes.
Mike,
Aye.
Joseph,
Aye.
Jane,
Aye.
Shelley,
Aye.
aye. All right, so with the board's approval, if you would like, I'll reach out to him if he can sleep tonight
You didn't hang up yet.
and
right?
talk to him.
He's still there.
Okay.
And we'll see whether he agrees to do that or not. If not, we'll come up with another plan for how we move
Mhm.
forward. But I
Okay.
mean, I think, and you know, one of the things that would be helpful is if you had a chair that kind of helped kind of work through the sequencing
Mhm.
timing and like how long you think some of these things are going to take.
Okay.
So they can be ready shortly after the first of the year to pull the group together.
One thing I would add to what Jeannie said in answer to Jane's question is, we're looking at everybody else. Quite frankly, I think there's a lot of people on this list that would do a great job. And they will find, I would imagine, opportunities to be leaders at various levels in subcommittees or whatever. They will all prove to be valuable. And that's why we put their names on this list. But the points that Jeannie brought up, I think were really, really important with the institutional historical experience of the FAC, particularly like you're pointing out with the timeline.
Besides that, I like to also make a motion. The reason, I think to issue a fund is a huge the task force. And I think for the 2.5 decade, you go back to 25 years. The latest one we didn't make it, so we failed. But for the current fund, the voter, the citizen, they are paying that, they go through the two bond. So we were always trying to not to make some mistake from the before election. So end up, I like to, nominate Jeannie as a historian, So in terms of the privilege, whether you need to attend or not.
For the next
I think
30
that-
years until she's 92.
I am the history. No, I told Joseph that I would be very happy to assist. I think the right role is in an advisory capacity, just so we can help bridge that knowledge gap. And just help folks kind of think about things, from the context of what happened in the past and whether that matters,
Mhm.
at least if they know it, they can at least decide. So
So do we
I-
have to amend and put it at 18 if Jeannie's added on?
Yes, right? Advisory.
Well, we can just identify advisors because I won't be the only one. I think that they should have others, and I have others in my own head that I think would be good to add to this group, either, for the whole duration or for portions of it. But it seems like the right role. So, all right. So you made a motion.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Do you want us to second?
Well, I'm not volunteering, so we either have to make it official or,
I second.
okay. Kelly, and feel no pressure really. Mike, Joseph,
I
Jane,
What answer are you looking for here?
well,
Aye.
whatever you want. Shelley,
Aye.
okay, and I'll say I too, because I'm happy to fill the advisor role, really. I don't mind doing that one at all.
For a 30-year term.
Well, I can't beat out Joseph.
I will waiting to always for the wheelchair.
Oh, my.
Right, well,
Yeah.
Well, I'm serious. I think that, you know, because of this, like the next generation here, you know, in the beginning was very hard. But I appreciate all those, you know, the dedicated person in the citizen, yeah. They make the the fun for us. Otherwise, we are even right now even worse.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I think the only other item in our agenda are board superintendent discussion items. Do we have any?
I just want to go back to what I was talking about earlier, which is my confusion on the dates for the CSBA Golden Quill Award for Mitch Lehman.
Mhm.
That is going to be Friday, December 2nd from 1:15 to 2:45 at the San Diego Convention Center.
San Diego.
That's where the conference is.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
the
I
CSBA
won't be
conference.
joining you for that.
Oh, sorry.
Is a Mitch going or not?
He said he will. And so I'm going to confirm that and I will let the board know.
Thursday or Friday?
It is Friday, December
Friday.
2nd from 1:15 in the afternoon to 2:45 PM. And so I will let the board know if he confirms his attendance so that we can make plans to be there to support.
And the Golden Bell is that afternoon too?
The Golden Bell is on the first, right? Thursday, December 1st. And that's
Also
in the
in San
evening.
Diego?
Yes,
Yeah.
That's evening.
5
right?
PM. Yes, that's evening.
I'll be thinking of you.
Oh, thank you. As an advisor. And also, please make sure that you attend on the 13th, Mr. Kalaki and President Caldwell, so that we can.
Don't I have to
recognize-
open the meeting?
Yes, you technically do. So
Yeah,
yes,
that's
it
what
would be
I
great.
thought. I
just
didn't
want to make
think I
sure.
was actually done tonight.
Good. I'm glad. I just want to confirm that.
I
So
knew I was gonna have another chance at the mic.
Thank
so
you.
Sorry.
Okay, just want to make sure there's no confusion.
None. Got it.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Left-handed, we're done. Thank you.